Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. And this being my first time to speak in the 13th Parliament, Mr. Speaker, allow me to take this opportunity to first and foremost congratulate you on your election as the Speaker of the 13th National Assembly. And also to congratulate my colleagues who have made it to this House this time round. Mr. Speaker, I am indeed pleased to note that you have repeatedly said since your election that you will be the Speaker of the whole House, in spite, of course, of the fact that my coalition did have a candidate against you. Mr. Speaker, I also recognize that you have got immense experience as a parliamentarian, and you are also a distinguished legal practitioner, spanning very many years. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you that when I was growing up, I came to learn that you, as a young lawyer then, young advocate, was bold enough to come out and defend some of the victims of the 1982 coup attempt. That goes to say, really, the kind of person you are. And therefore, this House, I believe, stands to benefit immensely from your wise counsel and your very rich experience. But coming back to the issue at hand, Mr. Speaker, I want us to take note of the fact that the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya 2010 makes it at Article 3, Subarticle 1, an obligation for every single person to respect, uphold, and defend the Constitution. That responsibility, that obligation is even more so pertinent for some of us who have taken oath of office to defend that Constitution. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've been listening very keenly to my friend and compatriot, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. But let me take you to Article 259 of the Constitution. Article 259 of the Constitution requires that as we interpret the Constitution, we do so in a manner that promotes its purposes. Allow me to just take you through it. That this Constitution shall be interpreted in a manner that, among others, promotes its purposes, values, and principles, and also in a manner that contributes to good governance. What I mean to say, Mr. Speaker, is that you need to undertake a holistic reading of the Constitution for you to arrive at any particular conclusion or determination. Selective reading of the Constitution, or any law for that matter, really, may not be helpful in examining a matter of significance such as the one that we are faced with this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, Article 108 has been spoken to by my colleague, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. And there's no doubt, indeed, that under Article 108, both Part 1 and 2, the leader of majority party shall be the person who is the leader of the National Assembly of the largest party or coalition of parties. Mr. Speaker, standing orders of the National Assembly, in fact, those of us who are privileged to be in this House in the 12th Parliament will recall that we did make some amendments towards the end of that House. So, Speaker, the Standing Order number 1 provides, and I want to read, that in all cases where matters are not expressly provided for by these standing orders or by the orders of the House, any procedural question shall be decided by the Speaker. But it goes on to say at part 2, and this is very important, that the decisions made in paragraph 1 shall be based on the Constitution of Kenya, statute law, and I dare say in this case, the Political Parties Act of 2011, as amended severally, including the amendment of 2022. Statute law and usages, forms, precedents, customs, procedures, traditions, and practices of the Parliament of Kenya and other jurisdictions to the extent that these are applicable to Kenya. Mr. Speaker, we have come to a point where we seem to be asking you to make a decision, to make a determination on a matter that is so well provided for, so expressly provided for by not only the Constitution, the Political Parties Act, but also by our own standing orders. And let me take you to standing order number 2B. Yes, standing order number 2B, Mr. Speaker. And I will read for avoidance of doubt. Clerk to obtain coalition agreements. That is the title or the subtitle of that particular standing order. And members, listen carefully. It says, at 2B, that the clerk shall obtain from the registrar of political parties a certified copy of any coalition agreement entered into by the two or more parties in the National Assembly for purposes of ascertaining the relative majorities in the House and facilitating the transaction of the business of the House. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to this particular standing order, I dare say, the acting clerk of the National Assembly, and I must commend her for her diligence, the acting clerk of the National Assembly on the 2nd of September 2022 did write to the registrar of political parties seeking this information. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, the registrar duly responded to her letter on the 7th of September 2022. The registrar of political parties wrote to the clerk of the National Assembly. And I want to read excerpts of that letter. Mr. Speaker, if I could be allowed to continue.
Mr. Speaker, just I don't want to correct my former chairman of Public Accounts Committee, but before he leaves Standing Order 2B, Speaker, just like Honorable Chungwa, can he first table the Azimio agreement as provided and certified by the registrar of political parties?
Can I continue?
Yes. Give him the mic.
So, Speaker, because why am I saying so? Speaker, Standing Order 2B, as correctly read by the Honorable Opio Wandai, is very specific. It says the clerk of the National Assembly will write to the registrar of political parties, one and Deritu, asking the National Assembly to be provided with. So, Mr. Speaker, The basis of our argument is not about the letter. It's about the coalition agreement. We have seen Kenya Kwanza. Can we get the one for Azimio?
Honorable members, that is a line of argument that you can pursue, and I'll give you an opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for protecting me from my friend and senior in the House, Honorable Dwali. In the course of my submissions, I will be educating him a little bit on matters law. On matters law. Mr. Speaker, I was saying that on the 7th of September, the registrar of political parties did write back to the clerk of the National Assembly. And she said, request for information on coalition agreements. Request for information on coalition agreements. Reference is made to the above subject matter, and your letter dated 2nd September 2022, whose content is duly noted. Pursuant to Section 10 of the Political Parties Act 2011, as read together with Regulation 21 of the Political Parties Registration Regulations 2019, and in line with your request, the constituent political parties of coalitions and effective dates are as listed below. 1. Coalition name, Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party. Listen, just listen. Constituent parties, Jubilee, ODM, Wiper, KANU, NAC. You can say no, but I'm telling you what is what is here. Yes. You will continue shouting no, but that won't make a difference. KANU, NAC Kenya, Muungano Party, Maendeleo Chap Chap, Democratic Action Party, Devolution Empowerment Party, UPIA, UDM. Just continue shouting UDM. I mean, no. UPA, PA, KUP, UDP, MDG, MDG, KRP, Chama cha Uzalendo, Party for Peace and Democracy, National Liberal Party, People's Trust Party, Ubuntu People's Forum, PNU, Labour Party of Kenya, Party for Growth and Prosperity. Those are 26. Those are 26 political parties that had signed a coalition agreement under the umbrella of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party on the 21st April 2022. Of course, it goes on to list those parties under the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, which I want to read. Okay, I can read, yeah. UDA, ANC, Ford Kenya, CCK, Communist, Service Party, Tujibebe, Farmers Party, Devolution Party, EFP, Umoja, Maendeleo, that had signed an agreement with Kenya Kwanza on 3rd June 2022. There are other parties listed here. Listen carefully, members. As having signed a coalition agreement under Kenya Kwanza post-election, that is on the 5th of September 2022. These are DP, National Agenda Party, Grand Dream Development Party, Chama cha Mashinani. Then it goes on. This is important. To say that further, the following political party is not a member of any coalition. That is NOPEU. But it has since gotten into some arrangement with the Azimio, yeah. Then you may wish to note, finally, that the following political parties have filed constitutional petitions and or have filed objections with regard to their membership in Azimio. That is Maendeleo Chap, UDM, and MDG. But let me say this now. Let me say this. As I say so, allow me to table this, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
Members, we shall hear the Honorable Wandai in silence.
Mr. Speaker, this is a matter, and I want to go to Standing Order 19. Standing Order 19. Sorry. I need an assistant at this rate. No. United States, a member of this House, can't be my assistant. Standing Order number 19A, Part 8. Okay? First and foremost, let me go to Standing Order 19A, Part 3. Part 3 says that the majority party whip shall communicate the name of the members elected, of course, as leaders of the coalition, under paragraph 1 to the Speaker in writing on behalf of the majority party. I wanted to say this because there was an argument that Honorable Jeanette didn't attach minutes of the meeting, of the PG meeting.
No requirement.
There is no requirement under Understanding Order 19A, Part 3 for that. The only time you need the minutes of a PG meeting is when you are changing the leadership of majority or minority. That is at Standing Order 19A, Part 7. The Speaker, Part 8, 19A, Part 8 says, upon receipt of the notification and the documents under paragraph 7, and confirmation that the threshold for removal, well, that is for removal. Okay. Oh, at 19A, Part 4, the Speaker shall, as soon as practicable, following receipt of the names under paragraph 3, convey the information to the assembled House if the House is sitting, or notify members if the House is not sitting, as he earlier on alluded. So therefore, what am I saying? That upon the convening of the 13th Parliament, and upon the determination by the clerk of the National Assembly of the status of the various coalitions from the registrar of political parties pursuant to Standing Order 2B, and upon the confirmation by the registrar of political parties to the clerk, the Speaker is simply expected, indeed required, under Standing Order 19A, Part 4, to simply convey the same to the House. That is what the law and the standing orders dictate. Any other thing is mere hot air. Mr. Speaker, let me take you back to the provisions of the Political Parties Act. Because an argument, indeed, very lame argument, has been advanced before that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party is not a coalition. Let me educate you, honorable members. If you go to the Political Parties Act, and this is an act of parliament, we all know, members, that was passed in this House and subsequently amended, including the latest one of this year. If you go to interpretation, In this act, unless the context otherwise requires, political party means an association of citizens with an identifiable ideology or program that is constituted for the purpose of influencing public policy, of nominating candidates to contest elections. And part B, a political party includes a coalition political party. A political party includes what? A coalition political party. And it goes on to define what a coalition political party means. And says a coalition political party is a coalition that is registered by the registrar as a political party. So in short, therefore, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party is both a political party and a coalition under the Political Parties Act. This is the law. Nobody has challenged it, and no court of law has declared it unconstitutional. As you all know, the power or the mandate to determine constitutionality of any law is vested in the High Court under Article 165 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the High Court, in Petition 043 of 2022, affirmed this position, affirmed the position that Azimio is both a party and a coalition. And let me read excerpt of that ruling, of that court ruling. There was no difference between a coalition party under the old law and a coalition political party. It stated, as for coalitions, the same have always existed in the law as they are provided for in Section 10 of the Political Parties Act. For all practical purposes, we have had coalition political parties in Kenya. One example is the Jubilee political party, which comprised parties like TNA, URP, among others. The only difference is that at that time, the constituent parties would be dissolved. But in the new definition of the constituent parties under the Act, parties will retain their individual identities. Therefore, all that the amendment has done is to formalize these practices through legislation. That is the court speaking, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the High Court is speaking. The High Court of the Republic of Kenya is speaking. And again, to educate my colleague, Honorable Didmas, a court judgment is law. It's what we call case law. And until I've the court. Mr. Speaker, the author of the letter that I've just quoted from, that is the registrar of political parties, is the official custodian of all coalition agreements. There is actually no need for us to table any agreement, because the author of that letter is the custodian of all these agreements. If you want to confirm with her, you simply take a walk to her office and confirm the same. We don't act in vain. Okay? Let me conclude. Mr. Speaker, this is a matter that, as I had said earlier on, does not really need to exercise your mind. It's a matter that you can dispense with very easily by simply going back to the Standing Order 2B. And let me say this. Eskin May, who is one of the authorities that is acclaimed the world over, has determined previously in his writings that the matters of leadership of political coalitions or parties in the House is a question of the result of parliamentary elections. If you read the 25th edition of Eskin May, which was published, I think, in 2019, you will come to realize that these matters that we are discussing here are determined way back at the time we are doing parliamentary elections. Indeed, even in the US, the matters of majority and minority are determined in the House of Representatives at the time you are carrying out parliamentary elections. No amount of gerrymandering can change the situation.
Order on the Wandai. It's a point of order.
Honorable Speaker, as much as I don't like to interrupt my good friend and colleague, but Honorable Speaker, when you allude to court cases that are before the courts, Honorable Speaker, I think it bears, the burden is on the Honorable P.O. Wandai to make statements of facts. And Honorable Speaker, the case that the Honorable P.O. Wandai alludes to is the same case I was alluding to, and the Honorable P.O. Wandai knows that the court indeed did determine, as he says, that a coalition political party is a political party and therefore can field candidates, and the constituent political parties can also field candidates. And that is the reason why Opio Wandai is here as Member of Parliament under ODM. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, that cannot be used to vitiate the fact that Azimio One Kenya coalition does not exist as a coalition of political parties. And the Honorable Opio Wandai did indicate in his submission that Azimio One Kenya, therefore, from that court ruling, can be interpreted to mean that Azimio One Kenya coalition party is a coalition of political parties. The question before the court was on a party and a coalition political parties, not a coalition of parties.
Yes, you have
just 1 minute.
10 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, let me end by saying this, that in the present circumstances, may you be guided by the famous, may you be guided, Mr. Speaker, by the famous doctrine in law of torts, res ipsa loquitur. Yes, Mr. Speaker, with those very many words,
It's called
thank you.
res ipsa loquitur.
Yes.
I will now give the whip of Kenya Kwanza. If you want to speak later, I can give other members. I had
No, Honorable
committed to
Speaker,
give to the whips.
No, I'm very ready, Honorable Speaker.
After you.